Oh, that's a dumb idea.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Tell him just to tell him just bug out.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
You can't tell him that he can't work with these people. It's like, I'm not going to
Is he gonna
censor these people. They're here to talk. They're here to talk.
So you guys don't want that idea.
Well,
I'm not saying like if we're here at after 8 o'clock. I'm sure I like how it's printed out.
would you like it if you went to something? You know, citizens forums always 5 minutes. Usually 1 minute. Remember what happened over in Illinois? Riots over there. I didn't even have my mom watch.
I don't think that's the way I do it. See how it goes. I think anticipate otherwise.
If you did not get an agenda, there are more that have been printed up and are out on the table in the lobby. If you want one, they're out there. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes.
He's gonna join, I don't know why, but he's gonna dial in. Stuff like
Nothing better to do. What's that? Yeah.
Hey, Ryan, can you hear me okay?
All right, if I can get your attention, we're going to call the
Yes, we hear you.
October 7th City Council meeting to order. If you will stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, if everyone will sign in, and I believe we've got Matt McKinney on the phone. So he will be doing a voice vote. Everyone else will be using the voting machine.
Thank you, Councilman Trevelyan. I am here present online.
All right, thank you, Matt.
We have 4 members present in the chambers and 1 on the phone.
All right. Can I get a motion?
There are no changes to the agenda, Your Honor.
No, thank you. All right. I do have one change that I want to get made on the agenda, and that is the minutes from the last meeting. Item
We
4.
can address that on consent agenda when we
All right.
bring the minutes up.
All right. All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Second.
All right. Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
All right, this is the time for the Citizens Forum. Anyone here to talk about anything?
Kevin, before we start, the mayor asked me to read this.
All right, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Statement from Mayor Russ Trimble. I'm sorry I could not attend tonight's council meeting. Based on a misleading mailing sent by an anonymous individual, I'm guessing we have quite a few residents wishing to speak. Thinking we have a public forum on this topic tonight. Unfortunately, there is no item or public forum on tonight's agenda dealing with bridges over the Raccoon River. And the person who did the mailing knew that. At the last council meeting on September 16th, we approved a feasibility study to determine whether or not bridges over potential river crossing are even possible. Please know we will have plenty of time for discussion of this issue when we get the study back. And we will welcome your input once we have more information on the potential alignment, impact, and locations where it may be possible to build bridges. We don't even know if bridges in any of these areas are possible at this point, let alone what the alignment would be. The person who did the mailing took the liberty of drawing dotted red lines on the map indicating the bridges' locations. They made also up as we don't know where the alignment of bridges might be. The mailing also indicates that these bridges will ruin our natural resources and our drinking water. That is ridiculous. If that were the case, the council would conclude the bridges are not feasible. This entire deceitful, misleading mailing was designed to get you in here tonight for an item on our agenda that isn't there. Staff has a sign-up sheet over on the table by the door. If you want to be notified when the study has come back and the council will discuss the issue, please sign the sheet providing your name, address, email, and phone number, and we will notify you. For anybody here who feels they absolutely need to question answered or need to address the council on this issue tonight, you may do so in a second under Citizens Forum. Again, all we have done is approve a study to look at potential river crossings for bridges. That's it. The mailing you received was not accurate. This council cares about the citizens we serve. Our city needs bridges over the river to connect the south side of the city to the north side. Bridges are crucial to increasing the response time of our first responders in an emergency, and they will make it more desirable for people to live south of the river. This continued growth of our city helps expand the tax base and increase revenue so we can continue providing efficient city services for our residents and continue cutting the city property tax rate. Thank you. Have a great rest of your night. Mayor Trimble. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tom. All right. With that being said, this is the time for the Citizens Forum. So anybody that's here to talk about an item that is not on the agenda, please come forward, give your name and address. You will have 5 minutes to talk. Now, the fact that we have standing room only, and I'm pretty sure I know why everybody's here, as Mayor Pro Tem, I am going to allow anybody to talk that wants to talk. I think that's the right thing to do. I don't think that anybody should be gagged or limited to the time that they have. Normally, it's 5 minutes, and that's what I'm going to allow. And if this thing goes till midnight, so be it. And if anybody's doesn't like that, too bad. So anybody that wants to come forward, please come forward to the podium, give your name and address for the record.
The reason
I'm coming in front of her.
Name and address, Margot. Microphone's up here at the podium.
Okay, Margot Blumenthal, 951 South 35th Street, West Des Moines. The reason I wanted to be first is because I'm probably the oldest in the room, and I've lived in my neighborhood for over 52 years, and I have a complete history of South 35th Street and South 50th Street and what took place during my time of living in this community. So I wanted to give you a history of what I wrote, of what took place for all of us living in this area. And I thought it would be a good way to start because people will at least understand how this area developed. Thank you, Kevin.
Right.
Good afternoon, West Des Moines City Council members, staff, and concerned citizens. My name is Margot Blumenthal. My husband, Don, and I have owned property in West Des Moines since 1969. We built our home on South 35th Street, formerly known as Cook Road. And we moved in 1972, so you can see how old we are. Okay, we have been residents of this community for 52 years. Aside from owning our homestead on South 35th Street, we also purchased the Johnson Farm on 50th Street around 1974. We had a continuous farming operation there until 1994, when the area became too developed to continue a farming operation. Many of you will know this area. It is adjacent to Quail Park. It is important that I give you this information so you will know that I have watched the growth of West Des Moines in my neighborhood and have followed the corruption that took place within our city government in this particular area, the streets and infrastructures when they were started to be developed. I will address a few, but not all the deals that took place on the paving of South 35th Street and South 50th Street. I'm going to return to the paving of the streets in this area, but will digress to tell you when the sleazy deals started. I attended a city council meeting when the city adopted a new comprehensive plan. Within a short period of time, I think a couple of weeks, I saw that a developer had proposed a plat for new homes off Fuller Road. What was interesting was the plan called for a change in density for these new homes. It was much higher density of homes than had been approved in the plan just adopted a few weeks before. Being a curious person, I decided to find out who the developer was. I was told two developers were proposing this plat, Whitehurst and Albright. When I discovered that this land, in fact, was being developed by our own mayor, who had substituted his friends' names as the developers. I went to the council meeting and told the city council members that this change in zoning was in fact a conflict of interest as the developer was seating amongst them, and I felt this was inappropriate. I did not tell the council members the person driving the development was the mayor. I can tell you that this is not the way to receive a favor from the person in the seat of power. From that moment on, I was target practice for the city staff. This harassment continued for 11 years. At this time in 1989, the mayor's company, M&M Insulation, declared bankruptcy for $689,000. Fortunately for the mayor, a large corporation issued him a loan from a bank in another city to help cover his debt. For this act of generosity, that company was able to build their company in a tax increment finance district, commonly called TIF. I believe it was one of the first TIF districts in West Des Moines. I have all the information on how that district was formed, starting with the acquisition of property from owners Pooch and Graham around 1992. This is when the city started leveling very large assessments on farmers and property owners whose property sat in the way of development. This practice of leveling outrageous street assessments on property owners became the prize tool for the city. This was done all over the city of West Des Moines. Most property owners were unable to pay these enormous prices for the street assessments. So developers came in and bought the property from them for undervalued prices. A street assessment is determined by the city staff. They determined which streets property owners had to pay for the general use of the city. These were 31-foot streets and very costly for property owners situated near a street the staff chose to pave.
Margot, you need to wrap this up. You're going to have 30 seconds. I'm sorry, but 5 minutes is what we're giving everyone.
Okay,
So,
all I can tell you is I have a whole history of total corruption that took place within the city of West Des Moines. I will tell you that at the end of the day, and which I think people should know what took place in our city, at the end of the day, the only way this was resolved was when my attorneys and I sent my documents to the FBI. And at that point in time, many of the people within this city were removed, but not enough.
Are you
Thank you.
accusing us of corruption?
Yeah.
Huh?
Are you
Carrie's
accusing
in
us
this
of
current
corruption?
council?
No, this is the council, maybe you didn't let me finish, okay, Doug? This is what took place in 1989.
Oh,
Thank you.
That's where it started.
thank you.
all right, thank you.
All right, I'm Teresa Benskin of 967th Street, West Des Moines, Iowa. Council members, I am a current West Des Moines resident, a former engineer at a civil engineering firm where I was significantly involved in environmental assessments at the federal level. And I'm also now a very concerned citizen regarding the feasibility study commissioned for Raccoon River bridges near our protected parks and green spaces, water supplies, our neighborhoods, and our homes. I want to thank Councilman Trevilian for voting no on this sensitive issue, and I want to provide additional context for council members and everybody here in this room today. So I grew up on Moffett Lake Road, and I will focus this discussion on the preliminary design of a second bridge west of I-35 between Grand Prairie Parkway and the interstate. In other words, a bridge approximately every 1.9 miles. As outlined in the project scope documents, this will require a 120-foot right-of-way with an alternate trajectory through Moffett Lake residential areas. Many of us here tonight were involved in the 2010 review of this project, and I would like to reiterate the reasons why that route at that time had been indefinitely deferred. I'm a very passionate environmentalist, so I'm going to start with those impacts. And like I said, I have done environmental assessments at the federal level. So first and foremost, it's going to be incredibly difficult to be putting a 120-foot right-of-way at the 35th, 50th Street or south of Jordan Creek Parkway without disrupting federally designated wetlands. You can check this yourself on the actual websites. They're public access. Number two, you will undergo significant upland and bottomland deforestation. Number three, river bottom habitat fragmentation. And number four, proximity to our city's water supplies. And as an aside and for context, the crossing at South Grand Prairie Parkway Bridge, just a couple miles down the road, I wanted to tell you all, part of the environmental mitigation plan that the developer was required to do at that time. And this is a quote. So it's preserving 250 acres of existing forested upland, 90 acres of forested wetland, 20 acres of forested floodplain, create an additional 30 acres of Indiana bat habitat, and create 20 acres of forested wetland. I would hope that the city here today has a similar contingency plan at all your proposed sites. Number two, the engineering caveats associated with this. Please take note, council members, this road primarily traverses through a FEMA-designated floodway, not just a floodplain, a floodway. So this is likely necessitating an extensive earthwork and extended bridge piles, and most importantly, there will be restrictions on developing the land adjacent to the roadway. In other words, this is strictly a commuter road unless told otherwise by the Army Corps of Engineers and the DNR. Number three, local resident impact. This is why everybody's here tonight. The reality is I highly doubt you'll be able to clear a 120-foot right-of-way without demolishing homes. You will also increase traffic, noise, light, and sound pollution in an already developed light residential neighborhood for which people have lived for over 40 years. Those of us on Moffett Lake were additionally relieved when the city chose to create a 6-lane capacity bridge crossing just 2 miles down the road at Grand Prairie Parkway Bridge. This location provided the city with the river crossing and access to Veterans Parkway. I would like to emphasize it was built in conjunction with landowners to the point of actively being subsidized by Knapp, Martin Marietta, and Hallett. Now, from what I understand from the city council meeting on 9/16, there's no requirement at the local level for the city's behalf of notifying residents of conceptual or preliminary design studies. And I do want to call out, I understand, to me, this is a PR term, a feasibility study. What it really is a conceptual borderline preliminary design. That there is no impetus on the city's behalf to notify people. And I just want to say that as a long-term resident of Moffett Lake, many of us on Moffett Lake Road and presumably Commerce as well, and those off of 35th and 50th Street are very hurt by the city's lack of consideration for local residents. And after reviewing the meeting minutes, only one courageous person, Mr. Stoll, was present to protest this initiative and speak on behalf of the residents in these areas. So at this time, I would politely request 3 considerations from the council. Number 1, please take note of all the concerned citizens who showed up tonight, as these projects affect our families, our homes, our shared environment, and our cherished green spaces. Number 2, I would ask that the council please clarify the necessities of these projects at this time with more granularity than just economic development. I think all residents deserve an explanation for these bridges that cost tens of millions of dollars to save several minutes of commute time. Are additional bridges feasible? Yes, of course, but are more of them necessary? On Veterans Parkway, there's currently one Microsoft data center, and we know there's one other one on the way. I understand the sentiment to build for the future by providing access to Veterans Parkway, but I would say that the city already has. Please consider just building an exit off the interstate as shown in the city's master plan, and reconsider the road through Moffett Lake residential areas as an ad hoc addition for when there's actual traffic numbers to support additional arterial roads. And number 3, please visit these locations and communities. Take the time to appreciate the natural beauty of these areas and meet the citizens that live there. We are your neighbors. Please don't pass us off as just a line on a map, and please don't shrug off the damage of an unnecessary commuter road through our environmentally sensitive areas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting speakers. My name's Kelly Koch. I live at 36793 Beechwood Drive out at the Greenbrier Moffett Lake area. I've lived in the Greenbrier area for over 30 years, and tonight I represent more of a grassroots conversation with parents, family members, neighbors, Greenbrier Estates, Moffett Lake Road, and River Oaks. People are going to be affected. As I was talking to people, over 20 residents, I was filled more with questions than with answers. So I have summarized the top questions. The number one concern is the environmental impact with Moffett Lake Reservoir. As you recall, the flood of '93 contributed to a major evaluation on the water supply of Des Moines. Last year, many of us that drive from West Des Moines I-5 bypass and get off on the exit of the West Des Moines South 35th Walnut Woods, we noticed construction starting on the north side of I-5 underneath the I-5 bypass and on the other side. This continued through the year. We noticed large, very large septic and sewer. The feasibility study supposedly was going to come, but it looked like some of the work had already started. If you continue down Moffett Lake Road, there was a massive excavation and sewage tubing, piping, concrete, and then it was quickly covered and graded, and now there's a red gate there with a privacy sign. The question that many of us had, was this the proposed plan, and what is beyond the red gate? Anticipating a massive clean out of that area, impacting that entire 1,500 acre and the Moffett Reservoir. If you go up Moffett Lake Road, you do see the Moffett Reservoir, which was started in 1940. The flood of '93 was really the catalyst to explore, plan, and execute a solution for the backup drinking water. In the year 2000, Moffett Lake Water Treatment Center began, and the operations for a true real water supply for Des Moines was growing. In addition, the land around it was protected from contamination and also a greenbelt wildlife. And in the event of another catastrophe, we do have a water supply. one of the main questions with people here tonight, what will happen to this lake water supply for risk of contamination with an overbuilding, overbridged, over-construction environment? What are the environmental impact issues for the Des Moines waterworks further downstream? What are the plans involving Walnut Woods, a state-protected park, and the new Purple Martin watershed green space? Greenbrier homeowners, River Oaks, and now the Moffett Ridge are all concerned that the increase of traffic and flow would greatly impact this area. The feasibility study and the timing that this was done, it seems it was backwards. They did a feasibility study, but in the meantime, they have already done most of the excavation and they're ready for a plan. So the people here, the grassroots, are really asking for an accurate time frame and a solution, and then other opportunities. And I agree with Teresa Benskin, should come out and actually see. There's 3 bodies of water. There's Moffett Lake Reservoir coming down further. There are 2 farm ponds, and then even further west, Greenbrier Lake. Many homeowners are here. Most of us will be impacted, and I encourage everybody to come out and talk to the people. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kelly.
Good evening, Mayor, Pro Tem, actually, and Council. Tom Stoll, I live at 3530 Commerce Drive. I stand here today as a homeowner and a resident with deep-rooted connection in the area. Our 155-year-old homestead lies across from the Raccoon River, Purple Martin Resource Area, Walnut Woods State Park, and the future chain of lakes recreational area. These places hold immense environmental, historical, recreational significance, not just for me, but for the entire community. That's why I'm here to speak on the importance of preserving these invaluable spaces as we look forward to future infrastructure developments, particularly the proposed 4-lane bridges and the immense 120-foot wide right-of-ways. I want to begin by acknowledging the council's effort to plan for the future. We all recognize the need for growth, improved infrastructure, and safe, accessible transportation across the river. However, there's a line that must be drawn, and that line must protect the treasures we already have. I'm here to ask for a clear commitment in this feasibility study that no option will involve routes that cut through or damage Purple Martin Water Reservoir, Walnut Woods State Park, or the future chain of lakes recreational area, or Moffett Lake. Walnut Woods State Park is home to the largest stand of black walnut trees in North America. This is not just a state treasure, but a national one. We are stewards of a national and historic landmark that has stood the test of time. Its quiet beauty, mature forests, and ecological diversity draw visitors from all around. The western part of Walnut Woods is home to the Commerce Ledges, a relatively flat, natural limestone rock formation that allows for crossing across the alluvial river. This area serves as a crossing and a meeting place for Native Americans and was pivotal in the establishment of the Village of Commerce long before West Des Moines was even formed. This area offers the only Class 1 rapids on the South Raccoon, making a unique destination for kayakers and paddlers. A bridge cutting through or adjacent to this park would permanently damage its ecosystem. The noise, air pollution, and visual disruption of a 4-lane bridge would degrade the very qualities that make this park special. This cannot stand. We owe it to the future generations to protect this unique area in the heart of our city. I ask you to ensure that no aspect of this feasibility study includes an option that places bridges anywhere near Walnut Woods State Park. Purple Martin Water Resource Area is west of Walnut Woods State Park. It's not just a recreational zone. It's a critical environmental source of our drinking water. Its role in water filtration, flood control, habitat for diverse species is irreplaceable. Placing a 4-lane bridge through or adjacent to this area would lead to increased runoff, pollution, and disruption of wildlife habitats. It's also important to remember that this is our newly developed nitrate-free drinking water source, like that of Moffett Reservoir.
Right.
The quiet natural character of this area would be lost forever. If this bridge were to cross here, it would strip the community of a key natural space. Purple Martin area is a jewel of West Des Moines Open Space Park Plan. Both the Icon Water Trails Project and the West Des Moines own 5 Waters Project have it listed as a critical green space space for the, and park for the community. Its protection is non-negotiable. Looking forward, the Chain of Lakes recreational area between these two parks promises to provide millions of gallons of clean drinking water to Des Moines Metro, all while offering recreational opportunities like kayaking, fishing, and new trails to connect our parks and open spaces across the city. The last thing this project needs is a major piece of infrastructure jeopardizing its potential. A bridge passing too close to this resource would bring increased traffic and pollution, which could compromise water quality and undermine the entire purpose of this project. We must not allow this future resource to be overshadowed literally and figuratively by a massive new bridge or even filled as suggested by city staff. Now, I know some may say, oh, this is just a study. This is just exploring possibilities. This will be economic development in and of itself. But here's the problem. Once you legitimize a route through Walnut Woods, Purple Martin Lake, or the Chain of Lakes, you set in motion plans that could have devastating effects on these spaces and central Iowa. We cannot afford to be reactive. We need to be proactive and prevent this study from even considering routes that would be irreversibly harm some of our most valuable community assets. Why study options that we already know will harm the community and aren't consistent with the comprehensive plan? To save less than a mile of driving distance? We need a commitment today that you will set clear boundaries for the study, boundaries to protect our vital environmental, recreational, and parks from the very beginning. Boundaries that are not currently described in the recently approved scope of work. It's just not about whether the bridges could work logistically. It's about ensuring that the city doesn't have to waste time and money on paths that we know will lead to harm. These areas should not be up for consideration at all. The bridges were removed from the 2022 comprehensive plan for a reason. The need for discussions of river crossing is understood, but the impact of this bridge cannot and should not fall in the spaces that define our community. A 4-lane bridge will bring significant noise, pollution, ecological disruption, wherever it goes. But placing these bridges in these key areas, it's not undesirable, and not only undesirable and illogical, it's completely unacceptable.
Tom, you need to wrap this up in about
Okay.
20 minutes.
I urge the members of this council to commit today to study that the respect of these boundaries and safeguards, Walnut Woods Safe Park, Purple Martin Water Resource Area, and the Chain of Lakes recreational area. You can choose as leaders of this great community to suspend or terminate the study as allowed under Section 18 of the agreement. You could also choose to revise the scope to remove the possibility of destroying these sensitive areas. This is a decision that will have lasting consequences, and we must get it right from the very start. Thank you for your time, and I trust you will suspend or modify the scope of these.
Thank you, Tom. Is there anyone else that wants to speak on behalf of this? Please come forward.
Oh, excuse me. Go ahead. My name is Sue Seaman. I live in Greenbrier Estates. And I moved out there for a reason, for the peace and the tranquility that I love. I grew up in Urbandale, used to go to Chester Park all the time. It's important that that kind of environment is maintained. If you put these structures through our neighborhoods, it's going to open up an opportunity for more crime. And I'll tell you what, these people won't know how to drive through a deer country because you'll be having your cars totaled all the time because of the deer. Yeah. And I've already heard about everything that they talked about, so I'm not going to elaborate on what's already been said, but this is what I want to say. Let me ask you this, Mr. Mayor. Would you like these growth plans forced on you if you lived out there with all this wonderful nature around us? Be honest, I think you would say no. I do also worry about our clean water supply from the reservoir that would be contaminated during the building of these roads and bridges.
Yes.
Please reconsider this plan. Imagine if you lived out here. Would you like this to happen to you? Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you for listening to us tonight. My name is Jan Goldsmith. I live at 1675 Southeast Walnut Woods Drive. I live up at the top of the hill from Walnut Woods, and they tell me that quite a few years ago, you could actually see the park from where we live. And I agree with everybody else that has been talking. But what I have questions instead of statements. Number one, the feasibility study. Was there a public announcement that this was going to be voted on that night? And if so, would you please let us know how and when that happened? Also, is there some way that we can see actually what that feasibility study covers? And does it cover the whole length of the Raccoon River? Or is it just the areas that we've been talking about tonight? If it covers the whole thing, that's all West Des Moines, that's different. Or maybe even some of the adjoining areas. But just to be covering the ones that we're talking about tonight, I think maybe the council needs to think twice about this. Thank you.
Jan, I can answer the first question for you. And yes, I guess it was publicly noticed, whereby it was part of the agenda from the, September 16th meeting. And those are publicized. So technically, yes. Were all the residents notified? No.
Okay.
So, and the other part as to what the entire study area includes, I guess if we can, I don't know, if after everybody's done talking, if Brian Hemisath wants to come forward or somebody wants to explain what that study area is, then we can do that. So we'll hold that off.
I've read it. Thank you. And I can explain it at the end.
Okay. Anyone else for citizens forum? No problem.
I'm so impressed. Oh, sorry. Deborah Gadlin, 35099 Moffett Lake Road. So thank you so much, everyone. Really impressive. I did want to add one thing. So Moffett Lake Road is not part of West Des Moines. So I find it a little odd that there's feasibility. Oh.
Stand closer to the podium, and that's where the microphone, that
Okay.
rectangle.
So Moffett Lake Road is not part of West Des Moines. So there have been feasibility studies about putting a bridge over land that's not really in your control. So I didn't know, are you planning on annexing all of Moffett Lake Road? Or would this be similar to what was done for the data centers, that new data center where they just worked with two property owners and annexed their land? That's all I got. Thank you.
And again, we'll get those questions answered. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Bob Reedy. I am at 2195 Southeast Browns Woods Place. And I stumbled over that address because I moved there 2 months ago. And so there's a lot of history in this room, and there's a lot of people who have a lot more professional knowledge and historical knowledge about this project than I do. But I just moved into an area and accepted the fact that the city doesn't feel the need to provide sewer and water services to the neighborhood because of the density and everything. But I did that because of the character of the area and the incredible natural resources nearby, and the fact that we get to live in an area like this and go to a school system that I grew up in, despite having just moved back, to go to the West Des Moines School District and yet still live in an area that is beautiful and is absolutely wonderful. And we give up something to live in that area in terms of some services that we get, but the prospect of more traffic through the area driven down Browns Woods Drive, just to commute, just to get to other areas, to save a couple minutes. Coming here to this building is one of the less convenient places of West Des Moines to go, because I can go down 63rd, which coming up here will be under a tremendous amount of construction and will be a huge pain, or I can go down to Highway 5 and come around. And yet it still took me 12 minutes to get here. And so if I can just do a little bit to express a new generation of West Des Moines residents and my children who are 4 and 3 years old and our intention to be here for at least 2 decades, that this plan came as a huge surprise and totally goes against the entire reason that we moved back to West Des Moines. So thank you.
Thank you.
Lyndon Stoll, also 3530 Commerce Drive in West Des Moines. As it's been clear throughout this entire meeting, everyone in West Des Moines clearly values transparency, values our environment, and wants to know the ins and outs of city policy in regards to this. With the plan that was voted in, that feasibility study, there is an article that requires Foth Environment LLC to maintain meeting minutes and documentation of any private correspondence with the city in terms of this feasibility study, as a clause of that agreement that was voted in on a 4-1. However, there has already been a meeting with Foth, and there has been no minutes prepared, only an overview provided through private correspondence with city staff, that meeting only went over the scope of the study. So I'd like to encourage the council and our private firm to encourage that everyone has access to that transparency so that we can understand the future of our parks, of our rivers with this feasibility study. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to address the council under Citizens Forum? Please come forward.
I'm Mark Cullen. I live at 3428 Scenic Valley Drive for approximately 27 and a half years, 3 houses away from South 35th Street. The last time I stood up here was in 2006, and it wasn't the city council, it was planning and zoning, and they had on the comprehensive plan the South 35th Street bridge that was going to go through Walnut Woods Park. And we had standing room only, just like tonight. And we were successful in getting planning and zoning to take it off of the comprehensive plan. Tom Stoll laid out why you don't go through Walnut Woods Park and the environmental impact. Why we have a feasibility study. What's feasible? Feasible is just, is it possible? We know it's possible. You can build a bridge anywhere. There's communities all over this country that have built bridges to nowhere and have had them later looked at as a horrible boondoggle.
That's right.
Let's look at the South 35th Street Bridge. If you build it, where are you going to go? You're going to come up to the north and you're going to come to Grand Avenue. Where do you go from Grand Avenue? We've got a 2-lane road that used to be gravel when I first moved into the neighborhood that has no shoulders, no sidewalks, and we're going to somehow have to widen that now to make a nice north artery? That makes no sense. And then let's assume that you do that and you buy all this frontage property of these new homes that have just been built down there. And then you continue on north and you get to Fuller Road. Where do you go from Fuller Road? Well, we've got schools up there. We've got Southwoods on the left. We've got the Southwoods Park on the right. And instead of going directly up South 35th Street, where do we end up? We end up to Mill Civic Parkway. We're in this neighborhood. It makes no sense, not just from an economic impact, an environmental impact to build the Walnut Street Bridge, but it is a bridge, as you pointed out, Kevin, in your motion to amend this and take it off at the September 16th meeting, that it is a bridge to nowhere. Your motion on September 16th should have been seconded, and this council should have voted to have that taken off of the feasibility study. This is an absolute waste of time and money. You've all admitted that you do not want to put this bridge through Walnut Woods Park. You do not want to put it through Tom Stoll's living room, and yet here we are. It's on a $141,500 feasibility study. It makes absolutely no sense. We beat this in 2006. Here we are again, 18 years later, and this is absolutely ludicrous.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chambers that wants to address the council?
Hello, Congress, Council, got ahead of myself there. My name is Tina Dewey. I live at 4240 High Street. I am just a lonely resident that lives in the area. But one of the things I love about my area, my house, my neighborhood, my neighbors, is that we are all very quiet, peaceful. I have 37 trees on my property. 2 of those are walnut trees. And if you know anything about walnut trees, they were very, very few and hard to find in Iowa. I've had bald eagles sitting down at the river less than 150 feet away from me, fishing. Are bald eagles a federal protected animal? And then I've also had goldfinches, which are our state bird. And all the different insects there are. It's like they say, stop and smell the roses. Do that. Look at the impact. The increased traffic, I know how many more dead deer are we going to have? Major car accidents because of the deer. Birds, insects getting killed for what? Because somebody wanted to save 5 minutes to get to work faster? I don't think so. And this feasibility thing should have been brought up to the neighborhoods being affected to let them know, hey, this is going to be happening at this meeting, so then you wouldn't have this happening now. It was very, very poor planning, and I think the council needs to get their act together. Thank you.
Tina. Anyone else in the council chambers want to address the city council under citizens forum? Please come forward. If not, I'm going to ask about anybody online. Is there anyone online or on the phone that wants to address the city council under citizens forum? Hearing none. All right, I just got one question. I know the answer to this, but just for the record, everybody in this room, please raise your hand if you are here supporting what Margot has talked about, Kelly's talked about, Tom Stoll's talked about. All right, by the count that I took roughly, I'm saying there's about 135 to 140 people here that are here supporting the residents that have talked. I just want that on the record. All right, if there's nothing else for citizens forum, we're going to move on. Well, I guess I got a couple of things that we need to address. One is the question that Deborah raised about how do we do a feasibility study when we don't, Moffett Lake Road's not in West Des Moines. So Tom, can we talk about that, or how do you want to handle getting that question answered? I need
Brian Hemeseth, city engineer.
Brian, can you come forward, please?
Brian Hemeseth, city engineer. The question was,
if Moffett Lake Road, and correct me if I misspeak, if Moffett Lake Road is not part of the city of West Des Moines, how do we do a feasibility study in that area?
the city has the ability to do a feasibility study anywhere in our planning limits, essentially. We did a feasibility study for Veterans Parkway and Grand Prairie Parkway in that area. We did that in conjunction with Warren County. None of that area was in the city of West Des Moines. And actually, not all of it was in Warren County. Some of it was in Madison County. So we've done it before. It's the future planning area of the city. There's areas obviously on Mill Civic Parkway, Grand Prairie Park, where we built roads that aren't even in the city. And Veterans Parkway, parts of Grand Prairie Parkway aren't in the city. So there are things that we have to do for the future planning of the city. And that's why we do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're
And can
welcome.
you, just for everybody, can you address what is the study area? What's it include? What's the
Sure.
street A to street what?
Sure. So at the September 16th meeting, I kind of went over that with you, but I'll reiterate that. So we're really looking at, there's 8 miles between First Street and Grand Prairie Parkway. And those are where the two bridges are that currently cross the Raccoon River that are they're basically local streets. The one in the middle is obviously Interstate 35. The Federal Highway Administration and the DOT don't really like us to refer to that as a crossing for local use. That's not something that they like. So we're looking at two bridges, one on First, one at Grand Prairie. So we're looking in that area. So we narrowed it down to from about 35th Street because everything to the east of 35th Street is either Walnut Woods State Park, Raccoon River Park, or Browns Woods Park. We know that the ability to get a bridge or any kind of road through those areas it's not feasible. That's an area that we just left out. And then to the west, we like to put these crossings if we can, at about a 2 mile spacing. That is about where Jordan Creek Parkway was. So we went a little bit west of Jordan Creek Parkway. So from about there to 35th Street is the area of our feasibility study.
Okay, and what is the scope of work that you've given to Foth?
Well, I'd have to it's pretty extensive. I mean, basically what they'll do is they'll look at environmental impacts, including archaeological, all the drinking water, wetlands, wooded wetlands, forested areas. They'll look at all of those things, and they'll provide us with some potential routes of where bridges might be able to be located. And obviously that will be, and then they'll do some preliminary design to see if it's feasible. They'll come to us with estimates of cost of those potential bridges and roads approach, or that'll get to that bridge. And then we can make a decision based on that information on whether or not, from a political standpoint, if that's where we want to go. So this is more of a looking at the engineering and environmental impacts of how we can get a bridge through various areas. And then from there, we have to take that information and go from there.
Okay, and it was pointed out that there was a meeting, I guess, to go over the scope of work, I'm guessing, with Foth, and there were no minutes taken, even though
Right.
it was indicated that any meetings was supposed to have minutes.
So typically in a situation like that, we're sitting down with the scope and we're just going over the scope and making sure that there aren't any issues or questions. I guess if there's one thing that was brought up in that meeting, I can't remember if I provided this when it was requested by a citizen, but one of the things that's very important to remember is if we want any bridge in any location in the city, to get a permit for it, we have to look at multiple locations along the area to make sure that we haven't ruled anything out, essentially. So the Corps of Engineers will require that of us. So leaving parts of that out of the feasibility study, they will require us to go back and study those areas. So if we want to put a bridge anywhere between First and Grand Prairie Parkway, we're going to be back looking at areas around 35th, areas around 50th, and areas around Jordan Creek Parkway anyway, just to meet that requirement by the Corps of Engineers. That was one thing that we talked about in that meeting, and Tom was in that meeting as well.
But were there minutes taken of that meeting?
I didn't take any minutes. I just asked our consultant if there were any minutes taken. My guess is there probably wasn't.
Why not?
We typically.
I'm just asking. I mean, that was the direction that the council voted on.
I'm gonna make a comment here. Like, we have technology with Microsoft, we can record those meetings. Let's just record them going forward. don't care. Put them on the website so these folks can listen to it. I know
I agree.
that's a pain in the rear, but we should do it. These people are here. I'm just going to make a comment. Like, this is Ward 3, and this is my jurisdiction, so I am going to take accountability on how this turns out. And I don't think it's too much to ask to do things like record the meetings, try to be overly transparent with what we're doing here. These people didn't show up for no reason. And this is actually how governance and accountability is supposed to work. So thank you for coming tonight. The other thing I'll say is I think we've got to go above and beyond on this one. And that's what we authorized to do at the last meeting in September. And so whatever we can do to make that happen makes it worthwhile. And I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. This is a big response. I did get calls and from people who want a bridge. So there's a lot of back and forth going on here. There are people who believe it needs to be put in place. I'm withholding judgment. I want to see the study. I actually think it's very skeptical if it can be. I'm skeptical if it can be done without harming the environment. We've scuttled other things because of Purple Martin and whatnot. So I want to make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's and that there's no doubt. We're not talking about a bridge for at least a year anyway, right? And so some of this might be premature, but I also understand why people want to come and talk about it. So,
Right.
So
Hey, Brian.
I think it's as simple as touching the button on Microsoft Teams and recording the meetings.
Sounds good.
I agree.
I agree with Doug's sentiments. Brian, thank you for sharing that. And for everyone here, thank you so much. Brian, how much did the bridge cost over on Grand Prairie Parkway? How much was the total cost for that bridge?
$12.2 million.
$12.2 million.
Yep, and that was just 2 lanes built. I believe we graded most of what an ultimate right-of-way would be, but just at that time, it was just 2 lanes.
And that was built 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yes, correct.
4, 5?
About 4 or 5 years ago, yeah.
This is before construction inflation really occurred in 2020 and
Right.
2021.
Right.
And
If we were to
whatnot.
build that today, it would probably be in the $15 million
So quite a
range.
So to build a bridge over the Raccoon River, obviously, I'm not making you say exactly what it would cost, but it would not be in the millions, it would be in the tens of millions of dollars.
That's correct.
So that would be a lot of money. So if you listen to the meeting on September 16th, I don't think I was as delicate with my words, but I had asked a question about the cost of the feasibility study. And I don't think I really expressed this as I should have. I think I was way more subtle than I should have been, but my question was, why would it cost up to $140,000? And then I pointed out there's only a little thin sliver between the 2 sections of Walnut Woods Park. And I didn't say it, but it doesn't make sense to put a bridge there. And then we looked at 50th Street, and that would go right by Purple Martin Lake. Landon, that was a great presentation, Tom, great presentation. Landon's one of the great students at Valley High School, by the way, one of the greats. Yeah, there you go, yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. And what you showed with the map and the thick line for 120 feet, I think that was very, very helpful to go really, really close to Purple Martin Lake and also those other lakes. So I'd asked about that a couple weeks ago too. And then my thought was that didn't really make much sense either. And then over here, I'm just looking at Google Maps right now over at Jordan Creek. And then it's a bridge that goes right to the fine folks at Moffett Lake who are not a part of West Des Moines and don't wish to be a part of West Des Moines, which is great. You do you. I mean, and it doesn't sound like a lot of folks necessarily want that bridge. So I think that there's some folks up here. I think I might respectfully disagree with the mayor. He shared his letter, but I would be probably on the other side of that because I look at these 3 bridges and it doesn't make a lot of sense to put them there. Furthermore, I was asking the question, why would it take $140,000 to spend that much money to tell me kind of what I see here? But Brian, what you said, there's a lot to go into it. We did a study. Who did that study 10 years ago? Teresa, you had mentioned something about a study and.
In 2010, it had been looked into, but no feasibility study had been conducted because
Yeah.
it didn't make sense.
Okay. And so I was curious on back in the day. Oh my gosh, you're making me feel old because that must have been at least 10 years ago, right? Oh, you know what? That does happen. I've been teaching 19 years. Ooh, it's going to happen more and more. But in any case, the idea of these 3 bridges didn't make a lot of sense. And so I didn't really say it. I was very subtle a couple weeks ago. But to build a bridge that's going to cost $15 million, I do feel like the city has a lot better things they could be doing with $15 million. So. So I'm going to echo Councilman Loetz. I think these meetings should be recorded, they should be shared, but I probably imagine that they will come out in the way that I expect them to, which is like, this isn't probably the best idea. Oh, could you build a bridge? Yes, anyone can build a bridge anywhere, but is it a good idea to build a bridge? And so I'm on city council for another 3 years, and I don't think it's a good idea. And so that's where I'll probably be for the next 3 years anyway. But I'm really grateful everyone showed up for this because I think Councilman Loetz is right. This is what it's all about. This is what should happen in these things. So thank you very much.
I'd like to speak.
Kelly, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to ask your question.
Brian, thank you. So,
Come forward, please. Come forward so everybody can hear it.
yes, Kelly Koch again, Moffett Lake. So the question I have, it's really a chronological format. So feasibility study should be before all the construction that went on for the past year and a half. The sewage lines, fiber optic lines, they're now south of Moffett Road. So, and then the exit, when we get off on Walnut Woods, South 35, that big exit area has been excavated and there is massive sewage. Where does that go to? And should the feasibility study been done before that? And who gave approval for that and financed that, the money involved in that? And then it's graded and seeded and it looks beautiful, but it's waiting for something to go on. It's backwards, the feasibility study.
Now, the feasibility study is whether there should be a bridge across the river. What took place with water mains, sewer, that is because of the development that is already happening down around the Highway 5 corridor. So without any of that development, it was all farmland, then you wouldn't have this. But you have to have the infrastructure, and fiber optic is part of that, in order to have the development. But you can have the development without the bridges. So the feasibility study is just whether or not it makes sense to have one or any bridges across that river. Brent, come forward. Give your name, please.
Craig Pepper, 2051 South 50th Street, West Des Moines. Question on clarification. When you talked about the DOT and the feds don't necessarily like using I-35 as a corridor for future traffic flow.
That's not what I said.
Well, hard of hearing, but
That's okay. I can clarify it.
I thought I understood that previously that there was no way that they considered I-35 for traffic flow. Do they consider I-35 for city use on traffic flow between the north side and the south side, vice versa of the river?
Sorry, I have to go to here because they won't be able to hear it on the recording.
I'm sorry, no.
But it's, yeah, if you don't, basically the federal highway and the DOT, they do not encourage local traffic to use the interstate to go from, like I do when I'm going to Menards and I want to just go from Hickman to University. I probably shouldn't do that. I should go use another road, but I do it, and that's not encouraged.
Therefore, my follow-up question
Whoa. I think we understand where everybody's at on this, but just please, we gotta keep it quiet so people can talk. So go ahead, Brent.
I just wanted to clarify then that if the feasibility study is that all these bridge locations don't make sense, kind of like we're talking about, that you can go back and say, we've had this feasibility study, it doesn't work, we have 8 miles between. Do we have the capability under these circumstances to be able to use I-35 as a route to get people, which of course, we already know that its potential is going to be 3 lanes both directions between the West Mixmaster and Bevington. It's already being set up, of course. So if that's the case, then you eliminate all the need for the bridges because you have one that can support it. That's the only clarification. And sorry, I misunderstood it
No,
slightly.
that's okay.
All right,
So-
thank you.
Brian, though,
Hold on, one thing first. Hold on. Like, I feel like we're killing the messenger here, and Brian's the messenger, and he doesn't necessarily have the message you want to hear. But the only way this works, and I appreciate everybody showing up, is if we're all civil and polite and respectful to one another. So let's keep it like that. No more outbursts, no more. Thank you.
Renee, you got something?
Yeah, I would like to speak. And first of all, I want to say thank you all for being here tonight. I don't know everybody. I do know a few of you. And I think you also encouraged us to go out and look at the area. I really appreciate the pictures that were shown tonight. I'd love a copy of those, so get those to all of us. But going out there physically is probably more important. I want to say this. As I walked into this room and I saw this room, standing room only, which happens very few times, okay? And I look at my role as a city council person, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to shy away from voting to hear a feasibility study, but I am going to take into consideration what I've heard tonight, what you've said tonight, how you feel tonight. And so I want to be honest, I'm not going to hide away from the 4-1 vote, okay? I am from business and I hear that feasibility studies give you information. That's the context of how I voted to say, let me hear what are the possibilities. So I want to be honest and transparent. I don't regret the need to hear about the feasibility study. It does not, however, negate what I've heard tonight, what I've seen tonight, what I've felt tonight, what you have said, because my motto has always been, from the day that I ran 6 years ago, was to listen and to learn and then lead. So this was a night for learning more from people that are vested in this process, learning more from people who live in this area, who treasure this area, and all of the things that you said tonight. So I'll agree, I will say also with Councilman Lutz, let's continue to be civil. I know we're frustrated as all get out. I get that, I sense that, but we've got work to do on this end as a council to make a decision. And this is a part of the learning process. And so I'm participating in this learning process. I'm not going to hide behind a vote that was made 2 weeks ago because I'm going to be transparent. I did it because I wanted to hear and learn more, right, wrong, or indifferent. But this also what adds to the learning process. And I will take all of it into consideration as a person that listens, learns, and then leads. And I do appreciate that we've got Brian here. Let's not shoot the messenger. Let him talk. Let him say what he says. Let's agree to disagree. And then allow council members to take the information that they have, both from whatever a document is, from what all of you have said tonight, and make a decision as we see fit. And that's what I'm going to promise you, that I'm going to make a decision taking into all the consideration of information, particularly what I've heard tonight. But that's to come. And that's what I want to share with you tonight.
Thank you, Renee.
Councilman Trevelyan.
Yes, Matt, go ahead.
At an appropriate time, I'd like to make some comments, but I don't want to interrupt. It looks like somebody may be coming up to the podium there. At the appropriate time, if you could let me know.
You're good now, Matt. Go ahead. Go ahead, Matt. Hang on.
All right. Very good. Well, first of all, thank you, everybody, for being there. And I'm sorry I can't be there in person. I'm out of state for an appointment that unfortunately I could not move. Your voices are important to me. Your presence is important. I've seen multiple angles of the video here and some photos that have been shared with me about the overwhelming number of people that are there. I want to share a couple of things. I want you to know a few things. Number one, I heard a lot about the water, about the environment, about recreational opportunities, historical significance of the area. I share in those concerns. I share in your concerns about water supply, disturbing protected habitats, historically protected areas, and other, I'll call them quality of life amenities that I know our residents use that will have an impact in our city and across the region. You may follow this council, you may follow some of the things we do, you may not. But this council has been very careful, okay? I want you to know that, for example, I chair the Icon Water Trails. Icon was brought up tonight. And that's an indication of this council. We voted to become one of the first cities that were part of Icon Water Trails. We as a council appreciate the importance of our waterways, our lakes, and our streams, and we're investing in those sorts of amenities. We don't want to tear them down or destroy them. We will be careful. We will not make, at least myself, I'll speak for myself. I'm not going to make a knee-jerk decision. We've taken our time with so many things over the last 4.5 years where I've been on the council. From the design guidelines, it took about 1.5 years to take, and Councilwoman Hardman, Councilman Trevelyan, appreciate the time you did on those things. Mr. Stoll, you know, you've been great to work with. Appreciate the work you did on the open space. I hope you know through that work, we took our time. It was not a knee-jerk reaction. I think we got to a point of comfort, and only at the point of which there was comfort with you was I able to move forward with that. We look at our data. We understand things. For example, right now we're evaluating a 4-lane to 3-lane conversion. I walked the area along Ashworth Road with residents and staff to understand it. And I can assure you that if we move forward with anything beyond a feasibility study, the first thing we'll do is walk that area, or at least I'll be walking that area with you. If it comes back and says it's not feasible, I think we'll have our answer. If it comes back and provides that there is a feasibility, but there's a lot of concerns with it, I look forward to talking with you all. You know, our parks, our recreational space, our historical spaces are incredibly important to this council. You see us renewing our parks, refreshing our parks regularly with the Raccoon River Park we just did last year, the Athene pedestrian bridge, and hopefully will open yet this year. You see us investing, as I said, in Icon Water Trails, protecting our history. And we just announced a new park protecting our history with Legacy Woods, just near the Jordan House there. I want you to know we take our time. We're not going to make a knee-jerk reaction. I appreciate you being there. Again, I'm so sorry I can't be there, but do not hesitate to call me, email, text me. I'll come out. I'll walk the ground with you. I've done it many times before, and I'll continue to do it. Thanks so much for listening. And Kevin, thanks for the opportunity to speak.
You're welcome, man.
Hello, Council and Mayor Pro Tem. My name is Danielle Stahl. I live at 3530 Commerce Drive. I just have a couple of comments, and I'm speaking from a place of, I work as a technical writer for an engineering and environmental health firm. And so to me, words matter deeply. And my entire job is to read scopes like we're given to FOTH and to actually say to the engineers I work with, are we checking all the boxes? Are we doing all the things that our client asked us to do? And I line those up and make sure that happens. And so when I read this, I have some concerns because what has been shared about what we're doing here in terms of a feasibility study is not what's actually written in the scope. And so I don't know how this works, but can I put things up here? Okay, thank you. So just to clarify where this is coming from, this was in the communication that was set out for the meeting on September 16th, I believe it was, where this was voted in by the council. So it was section 4 and 3. You had to really dig down to get to it. It was like 130 pages into the PDF, but it's in there. And this is the full scope. So this the beginning part of it is kind of boring. It talks about like the insurance that they have to carry and all that standard stuff. But then when you get to the attachment scope of services, there's some project assumptions. And I think it's really important to just look at that and to remind the council that, first of all, we're incredibly grateful that you do listen to the citizens, that you take things and you go slow, that you do all your due diligence. I mean, we respect this council so much. And so we're incredibly grateful for that. I would point out here, you know, as a tech writer, I would say to my people, this project consists of the functional design associated with the Raccoon River Bridges feasibility study. We can call the project anything we want. We can call it a feasibility study. Does not necessarily mean that technically from an engineering standpoint that it's a feasibility study. Let's all note that. Going down for project assumptions, they tell us right here under the second bullet, the third bullet, where exactly we are looking to study or develop a conceptual design. Just to point it out, the study will include 2 crossings of the Raccoon River, one approximately 1.6 miles, that's pretty specific, folks, west of Interstate 35 and one approximately 1.0 mile east of Interstate 35, that's South 35th Street. Wood River Crossing will include the extension of South Jordan Creek Parkway on the west side of Interstate 35. The alignment will extend from the South Jordan Creek Parkway and Grand Avenue intersection to Southeast Moffett Lake, and it goes on from there. There's other other assumptions I won't bore you with, but it's really important that all of us who care deeply about this look at this scope. And we can make this available. I believe that there's a website out there. We could get this PDF from the city and put it on there. Look in there. And then we're so grateful that you have offered to video, do a Microsoft Teams recording of the meetings with folks so we can all watch and make sure that, everything is lining up and we're able to see what's happening. But I would encourage the council to look deeply at this too. This is not just a feasibility study. And so those are my concerns that I wanted to share, but also wanted to share gratitude for all of you being such great listeners and for your growth mindset and wanting to continue to learn and do right by our city. And we're very, very grateful for that perspective. So thank you.
Thank you, Danielle.
Could I add one thing to that?
Go ahead, Mark. I'm going to give you just a couple minutes. So
This is a question for Brian as well, but on what Danielle just went over, it also says that they are not going to be responsible for any of the traffic studies. And I guess my question is, has the city done traffic studies, and can that be shared with us? Is that information out there?
Yeah, I think it's actually in here, I think.
The city has a pretty robust traffic model. We look at the full build of the city. We do all of our work in-house, and we have not specifically done a study looking at exactly where one might go, but we have looked at the fact that we do need some kind of a connection between First and Grand Prairie Parkway. We don't know exactly where. So what I'm telling you is we don't have a specific traffic study. And that would be something that we would look at once we know where a bridge could go. And then we would look at where that, because doing one ahead of where you can even have one is probably not time well spent. So I hope that answers that question.
all right, thank you. Yes, go ahead.
I think as we close this out, can everybody hear me? I just want to thank everybody again. And there's been a couple of times when we haven't had this big a crowd before, but I think that's a good thing. I think this council's been really good about listening to constituents. I think I look out in this crowd. I've lived in this city for 27 years. You may not know that. I see some of you in the crowd that I know. And I think what you have in front of you is exactly an example of how this thing's supposed to work. I am in favor of the feasibility study. I do not wish to take my vote back because it educates me on what, how, when, why. I can also tell you, I am not in favor of paving over Purple Martin Lake. That ain't ever going to happen in my term. So, but I also think that folks need to call us as this evolves. We're going to try to go to the extra mile to make sure it's transparent. That's what we want. people ask me, they go, why'd you want to become a politician? I'm like, I'm not a politician. I'm on the board of directors for this city. That's what I think about. And I want the feedback from you all. So I'll end that there. I'm excited to see what the feasibility study says. Doesn't mean we're going to do anything. And so I want your feedback probably next summer as this thing comes through. And I know Brian and Tom and the staff will do everything to make sure that we do the right thing by people. And we'll go from there. And so I look forward to hearing from you. Next time, instead of showing up, call me on the phone. My phone's on the website. I'd love to talk to you and get to meet you. And we'll kind of play it forward from there. So thank you, everybody.
All right, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and addressing the council on this. I know our mayor didn't want this discussion to take place, as was read in the letter, but again, as I stated, I think if people are here to talk, we need to listen to them. One thing that I think needs to be said is that I didn't support the feasibility study, and the reason is because it's common sense, okay? That's how I operate, common sense. It doesn't make sense. I don't know that it ever will make sense. I didn't know why we needed to spend $141,000 for somebody to tell us that we either, one, it can't be done, or two, it doesn't make sense. So that's why I voted the way that I did. So again, I just appreciate everyone for coming out tonight. You don't need to run off, but I know the council of chambers is going to be a ghost town here in just about 30
Mr.
seconds.
Mayor Pro Tem, I just wanted to, you just shared something, and I need to say that I disagree with you that Mayor Tremble didn't want this conversation to have. I just disagree with you on that. I think he is absolutely ready and willing to hear the comments of the people tonight. So I would respectfully disagree with you, sir, on that. And maybe Councilwoman Hardman.
No, I'd like to not allege what a person wants when they're not here to defend themselves. So we've listened, we've heard you all, and so I don't think we need to make statements for folks that aren't here to really share their own positions.
I was simply going off the letter that was written. So.
And I want to thank everybody in the crowd for acting professionally and respecting each other and whatnot. So
I appreciate everybody being here.
All right, thank you all. We're going to move on to mayor, council.
You're free to stay.
So we'll wait just a few minutes for the council chambers to
clear
empty. Now, show us solidarity. That's what it was.
I won't. No, I didn't.
You bet. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Absolutely.
Anytime. Thanks for paying attention.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah, we're going to do mayor council reports and then the close comments. All right, we're going to get back to the meeting, so anybody that wants to stay, feel free to. Otherwise, please vacate the room and quiet so that we can carry on with business. We'll have the mayor, council, city managers report. I'm going to start on my left with Councilman Doug Lotes.
Greg, that's a new one.
I'm sorry for the
Nothing to
insult.
report, Your Honor, other than I'm just really happy with, people paying attention in our community, people coming and voicing their concerns, people calling and being active, because I know that doesn't happen in a lot of places, and I appreciate it here. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hardman?
Yes. A couple of things. I want to say thank you to the city for really doing a beautiful kickoff of a campaign called Community Cares. We're going to hear a little bit about that probably tonight and probably in the future. So I think it's really going to set our city apart for truly being a city that really cares about its citizens. So this Community Cares campaign, this Community Cares initiative is exciting. The kickoff was exciting. I was at another spot, but I've certainly tuned in. So I just want to say thank you for what I think is going to be extremely impactful for our residents, including our youth. So excited about that. I want to thank the police department for opening up their cars where people donated supplies that benefited human services. I was able to stop by and drop off TNT, toilet paper, and toothpaste, and the trucks and the cars were full. The van and the cars were full. So I just was excited about that annual campaign of donating worthy kinds of things that help our citizens in the city of Des Moines. And then I participated in a ribbon cutting for Merchants Bonding, which is a great company to have right here in the city of West Des Moines. They've done some major renovation of their patio area, a wonderful place to encourage employees to have a nice spot to come work because they're bringing, employees back to work in some capacity. So anyway, I was proud to participate in that. And then the last thing I want to do is, and again, I really appreciate what happened tonight. I think I'm a firm believer in people that aren't present, that, if they have something read, their voice is heard, because it clearly is in the mayor's letter. So for anybody here who feels they absolutely need questions answered or need to address the council on this issue tonight, you may do so in a second under Citizens Forum. So I hope that when I'm not present and something is said about me, that someone would stand up and call out the truth. Again, I am appreciative, Mayor Pro Tem, that you allow people to speak. But I truly wanted to make sure that I lifted that up in efforts that I don't think there was anything going on tonight to limit people's ability to share their thoughts. That concludes my report.
Councilman Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. So first off, I wanted to thank you for allowing everyone to speak, because there was a lot of folks in here and a lot of folks who had strong opinions, and they got to share their voice, and that's incredibly important. So, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I want to thank you for your leadership in allowing folks to share and freely during that time. So really appreciate that, because it is important. Second off, I do want to shout out the relationship we have between the city of West Des Moines and the West Des Moines Community Schools. It was a couple months ago where Clive and the city of Clive and the West Des Moines schools had an outreach event at the Clive Learning Academy, and it was a great community event when people came together. And just Hillside Elementary, we did it again, but this time the school district and the city of West Des Moines came together. I know our public safety officers were there on site on October 3rd. So it's really great to see these community events where we can have the schools and the city come together. It makes a big difference for really building our community, because we want to do that as much as we possibly can, especially during these trying times that sometimes seem trying. Second thing is, I just wanted to remind everybody that early voting is starting in just over a week. And I see several elected officials in the audience right now, not just elected officials credentials up here on the dais, but I know that voting is incredibly important. And so therefore, I just really want to encourage everybody to hit the polls. I think here in just a week or two when early voting starts, there's satellite voting opportunities, there's absentee voting opportunities. You can vote in person at the county, and of course you can vote on Election Day on November 5th, so be sure to vote. And I did want to once again just thank Brian Hemeseth. I know it's hard work being the chief engineer of a city, and certainly sometimes it can get noisy, but really, really grateful for your grace and your professionalism. Truly, I'm always grateful for you and what you do here. So very much thank you. And that'll conclude my report, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Councilman McKinney, you got anything to report?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
City Manager Hayden?
No report, Your Honor.
All right. All right, moving on to consent agenda. Are there any items? I want to pull 4A. Are there any other items that anybody wants to pull?
I like a 4Q pull, please.
Or N is in Nancy.
All right, we got A, Q, and N being pulled.
Second on the remainder.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the remainder of the agenda. Any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
All right, under 4A, item 4 and 3, which is A is the meeting minutes from the last meeting. 4 and 3, the minutes should reflect that the subcommittee review should be corrected to show that it was not both Matt and I approving that. In reality, I don't believe that as it was presented at the subcommittee meeting, was asking for approval. It was basically just informing us of information. Is that correct, Brian? Yes. Okay, so could we please take out any subcommittee recommendation?
Which page?
4 and 3.
4 and 3 of the last meeting, under minutes of the meeting. When you go back to that, it showed that it was reviewed by the subcommittee and was approved basically unanimously by both Matt and I. And all it was a report that this was coming forward. I didn't even know it was going to come forward at the next council meeting. So I'm not sure where that disconnect.
Is it in the minutes, or are you referring to the staff report?
Well, that's probably staff report.
Okay.
So that needs to
Because
be
I'm not seeing
corrected.
any reference
And then
one way or the other in the minutes. So.
But the minutes, we just somehow need to show that it was not a committee recommendation, so.
Okay.
That's consistent with my recollections, too.
With that, I will move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
Five yes.
All right. 4N. 4N is a resolution to establish consultation meetings and public hearings, Grand Experience, Affordable Housing, Urban Renewal area. And I'm assuming you're wanting everything that is part of that. So not just one piece, but all 6 items. Is that correct?
That's correct, Kev. I just need to abstain for potential conflict.
Move the remainder of 4N 1 through 6.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Brian, if you could mark me down as an abstention, please. Thank you.
4 yes, 1 abstention due to potential conflict of interest.
And 4Q is a proclamation, Disability Employment Awareness Month, October 2024. I will read proclamation. Whereas the city of West Des Moines hereby recognizes and proclaims the month of October 2024 as Disability Employment Awareness Month, and whereas the inception of this national observance dates back to 1988, when Congress expanded National Employ the Physically Handicapped Week to encompass all types of disabilities and underscore the importance of addressing the employment needs of those with varying abilities. And whereas this month provides us the opportunity to heighten awareness about employment requirements of individuals with disabilities and celebrate the significant contributions made by dedicated workers within the community of West Des Moines. Whereas everyone in Iowa adults have a disability, which equates to 530,000 people, meaning workers with disabilities significantly shape the culture and workplace. And whereas it is vital for workplaces to welcome the talents of all people, including people with disabilities, if we wish to build an inclusive community and strong economy. And whereas throughout West Des Moines' history, our disability community has played a significant role in helping ensure equitable access for residents and our workforces and have made our city more welcoming for all. Now, therefore, I, Kevin L. Trevelyan, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of West Des Moines, Iowa, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim October 1 to October 31, 2024 as Disability Employment Awareness Month. Signed the 7th day of October, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move, and I do have a comment.
Second. Comments, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for reading this very important proclamation. And as I listen to the words, you know, I have to dig deep in my life experience with persons with disabilities. I have a nephew that has a disability. I have a neighbor who I saw graduate from Valley High School and who's working at Hy-Vee, and I walk in and he shares his joy of being at Hy-Vee. And then his dad, who was picking him up, shared the joy of him being recognized for the work that he does. And if it were not for employers like Hy-Vee and others employing these individuals that have challenges in some cases, large or small, this world would not be what it is today. And so I encourage all of us to say thank you when we have someone that's sacking our groceries that has a disability but is proud to be there. Thank them, give them the appreciation and recognition that they all deserve. And so I'm glad to work for a city where we honor and we lift up these words, and we honor this part of diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging. And yes, I said those words because I stand by them. And this is a part of that effort. So I say thank you. I thank you for the people that are being here. And I say, let's make this a reality in terms of how we support and appreciate and value the people that might live life a little bit differently than ourselves, but are equally important.
Any other comments? All right, please vote.
Aye.
All right, if.
5 yes.
If everyone that wants to be included in the picture when we present the proclamation wants to come forward, we'll get a picture with the council. And
my next door neighbor.
Everybody scoot this way a little bit so we don't run out. All done?
Good to see you. Always good to see you at Hy-Vee. Hy-Vee, Mike.
you want, thank you.
Do you want that combination?
Perhaps one of the reasons that USA Today named Hy-Vee, West Des Moines-based Hy-Vee, the #1 grocery store in America.
Gotta love it.
Gotta love it.
Yep. All right, moving on. Item 5, old business. 5A is Isles Funeral Home, 7200 and 7010 Ashworth Road, amend the Reeds Crossing Plan Unit Development Ordinance to incorporate 7010 Ashworth Road into the PUD and to regulate funeral services and crematories development. Isles Funeral Home Real Estate LLC. It's an ordinance for the second reading and waiving the third.
Motion to consider the second reading?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please vote.
Aye.
5 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024, and ordinances pertaining to plan unit development number 29, district regulations and guidelines.
Motion to approve the second reading?
Second.
Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
Motion to waive the third reading and adopt in final form?
Second.
Any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
5B, amended and restated Mill Civic Parkway Urban Renewal Area, Subdistrict Number 5, terminate Subdistrict Number 5 Tax Increment Financing District, and repeal portions of ordinance numbers 1384, 1560, 1740, 1800, 1824, 2014, 2072, 2314, 2427, 2466, 2558, and 2587. City initiated, it's a approval for the ordinance of second reading and adopt in final form.
That was a lot. Motion to consider the second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes, an ordinance amending ordinance numbers 1384, 1560, 1740, 1800, 1824, 2014, 2072, 2314, 2427, 2466, 2558, and 2587, providing that general property taxes shall no longer be divided on certain property located within the Mills Parkway Urban Renewal Area in the city of West Des Moines.
Motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
Motion to waive the third reading and adopt in final form.
Second.
Any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
5C, South 81st Street Urban Renewal Area, amended TIF ordinance, Jordan Ridge Project Area, city initiated. It's an ordinance for the approval of the second reading and waive the third and final form.
Motion to approve the second reading? Consider the second reading?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes, an ordinance providing the general property taxes levied and collected each year on certain property located within the South 81st Street Urban Renewal Area in the city of West Des Moines be paid to a special fund for payment of principal and interest on loans, monies advanced to, and indebtedness, including bonds issued or to be issued, incurred by the city in connection with the South 81st Street Urban Renewal Area, Jordan Ridge Project Area.
Motion to approve the second reading?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
Motion to waive the third reading and adopt in final form?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
5D, Westtown 5 Urban Renewal Area, terminate the urban renewal area and repeal ordinance numbers 1848 and 2125, city initiated. It's an ordinance for the approval of the second reading and waiving the third and adopt final form.
Move to consider reading of second reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 1848 and related ordinances providing for the division of taxes levied on taxable property in the Westtown 5 Urban Renewal Area in the city of West Des Moines.
Move to approve second reading.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
Move to waive third reading and adopt in final form.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
All right, item 6, public hearings. Item 6A. This is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Pavilion Park west and south of the intersection of EP True Parkway and Wendover Lane, amend the planned unit development to revise the configuration of the PUD parcels and establish uses and development regulations for each parcel, initiated by Pavilion Park LC and Wendover Reserve LC. Clerk, would you please read the date the notice was published?
September 18th, 2024, in the Des Moines Register.
Have we received any written comments to this hearing?
The Planning and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 4 yes with 3 absent, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the PUD amendment.
Are there any comments from the audience on item 6A? Please come to the microphone, give your name and address for the record. Seeing none, is there anyone online or on the phone who wants to address item 6A? All right, I declare the public hearing closed. We have an ordinance for approval of the first reading.
Motion to consider the first reading?
Second.
Moved and second. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024, and ordinance numbers 24-7 and 2488 pertaining to plan unit development district regulations and guidelines.
Motion to approve the first reading?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
All right, item 6B. This is the time and place for a public hearing to consider amendment number 5 to the Coach Light Urban Renewal Area initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Clerk, would you please read the date the notice was published?
September 27th, 2024, in the Des Moines Register.
Have we received any written comments to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Is there anyone in the audience that wants to address the council on item 6B? Please come to the podium, give your name and address. Seeing none, is there anyone on the phone or online that wants to address the council on 6B? Hearing none, I declare the public hearing closed. It's a resolution for approval of the urban renewal plan amendment.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
Item 6C, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider the 2024-25 fiscal year operating and capital budget amendment number 1 initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Clerk, would you please read the date the notice was published?
September 27th, 2024, in the Des Moines Register.
Have we received any written comments to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Is there anyone in the audience that wants to address the council on item 6C? Please come forward and give your name and address. Seeing none, is there anyone online or on the phone that wants to address the council on 6C? Hearing none, I declare the public hearing closed. It's a resolution for approval of budget amendment number 1.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and second. Is there any discussion?
One quick comment. Once again, I always like to, when we do these things, I am continuously proud of the way our staff and council handles the money that our taxpayers entrust us with. This came through F&A. And the level of detail that folks give these things is really remarkable to me, and I think it's a testament to the staff we have here. So I want to thank them for the work that they do on this.
Yeah, and both Tim Stiles and Chris Hamlet are both here. And Chris, I know you combed through this with how many fine-tooth combs is it? 17? Something like that. And really, really grateful. So I'll echo Councilman Lotz's words.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
All right. Item 6D, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider 2024 parking lot repair program, Phase 2, initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Clerk, would you please read the date the notice is published?
September 27th, 2024, in the Des Moines Register.
Have we received any written comments to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Is there anyone in the audience that wants to address the council on item 6D? Please come forward and give us your name and address. Seeing none, is there anyone online or on the phone that wants to address the council on this item? Hearing none, I declare the public hearing closed. It's a resolution and approval of plans and specifications. Motion to receive and file the report of bids and award the contract. And we need to take these separately, or?
No, they can be together.
They can all be together.
Motion to approve them.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
All right, new business, Woodland Hills Urban Renewal Area, terminate the tax increment financing district and repeal ordinance numbers 1935, 2315, 2400, and 2414. City initiated as an ordinance for the approval of the first reading.
Motion to consider the first reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Reading the background of this, the Woodland Hills Tax Increment Financing District, the TIF district, it's been around for quite some time now, but just what struck me in the second paragraph was through the life of this TIF district, the increment generated within the urban renewal area was more than $211 million. And I said, oh, that's it? No, I'm just saying that's an incredible amount. And I just want to recognize that it's nice to be to expire this Woodland Hills Tax Increment Financing District, but it should be important to recognize over the last several years, well, decade plus, the growth out there has been staggering, and it's just a lot. It's a lot to be proud of. And I just want to recognize that our city's growth is great, and that particular number, approaching $250 million, that's not a small number. So,
That's for sure. Any other discussion?
Councilman,
Go ahead, Matt.
yeah, I'd like to echo those comments of Councilman Hudson. Nearly $250 million. The folks that were on the council before myself, Councilman Trevelyan, you, and Councilwoman Hardman, made decisions several years ago that have allowed such growth to exist. And the staff that put in the time to plan these things out, to see that sort of growth is incredible. But what I also found really important is the fact that over $6 million has been generated to help the low to moderate income housing opportunities throughout our community. And those are the dollars that flow into the regulatory compliance, or the upper story housing program, and the other programs we have in the city. And so, as this expires, I look forward to finding new areas to help that funding stream flow in to what I'll call the due diligence committee's purview. And anyway, I just raise it up as something that's important and a success story over the last few years. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Councilman McKinney for raising the aspect of this. A lot of people don't know that. And so for us to share that in this forum, for them to see the commitment that the city has made for low to moderate income kind of projects and housing, I think it bodes well for this city. So thanks, Councilman McKinney, for sharing that as an aspect of the goodwill that's created from what we do sitting on this dais.
All right, please vote.
Aye.
5 yes, an ordinance repealing ordinance numbers 1935, 2315, 2400, and 2414, providing that general property taxes shall no longer be divided on all property located within the Woodland Hills urban renewal area in the city of West Des Moines.
Did I move this? Okay, so I will motion to approve the first reading.
second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Couldn't remember.
Going so fast.
5 yes.
7B, Amendment to City Code, Title 6, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 9, Traffic Schedules, Section 1, Official Traffic Controls. Traffic signals at the intersection of South Jordan Creek Parkway and Grand Avenue. This is city initiated. It's an ordinance for the approval of the first reading.
Motion to consider the first reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
This place needs a stoplight.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Please vote.
Aye. And I agree.
Good move, good move.
5 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024 by amending provisions pertaining to the traffic code relating to official traffic controls.
Motion to approve the first reading.
Second.
Seconded. Please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
7C, Amendment to City Code, Title 6, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 9, Traffic Schedules, Section 7, U-turn prohibited, Jordan Creek Parkway and 850 feet south of EP2 Parkway southbound. City initiated. It's an ordinance for the approval of the first reading.
Motion to consider the first reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I have
I've
not
seen-
seen anybody ever do a U-turn here, but I got to believe it's happening.
Oh, it's in Ward 2. We see it quite a bit. And so I'm excited that people want to get to Von Mar as quick as possible by taking that UE and then turning right into the west side of Jordan Creek Town Center. But the fine is going to be almost $106. So watch out. Here we go.
Chief Scott, you got one more law to enforce here shortly, I guess, if this thing passes in 2 weeks, right? And yes, you're right. They turn there regularly. Yep. All right, please vote.
Aye.
5 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024 by amending provisions pertaining to the traffic code relating to official traffic controls.
Motion to approve the first reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded, please vote.
Aye.
5 yes.
All right. Let's see, I flipped too many pages. We're going to, item 8, receive, file, and there's nothing to receive and file. Are there any other matters council wants to bring forward? Seeing none, we're going to place the meeting in recess. Council will adjourn to executive session, and then we will come back and close the meeting.
Okay.
Teamwork room, yes.
Okay.
So we're in recess as of now.
Brian, do you want me to
If you're looking to improve your days, focus on your nights at the Love My Lebanon mattress sale.
All right. Look out, we're back.
Yeah.
All right. All right. All right, we're going to bring the meeting back into session from recess. Item 10B, settlement, there's a settlement and mutual release agreement with the state of Susan Farrell, city initiated. There's a motion for approval of settlement and mutual release agreement.
I will make the motion to approve.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
Yes.
All right, meeting's adjourned.